Hey guys, Julian here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make deep house like ANOTR. As usual, you can get the full project file and samples, and MIDI and presets. All that stuff from this video is available right at the top of the description for just $5, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there, because it's already available. And yeah, here we go. So this is a little bit in the intro. We're at 126 BPM, and I'm going to be just showing you some different techniques I picked up on from ANOTR's music that I haven't shown you guys already on this channel to make this style of house. So the first sound that we have here is the organ stab, which sounds like this. So here is the MIDI. You can see it's this sort of like skippy swung pattern where you can see we have these like super short choppy notes here, and yeah, it's just kind of, yeah, this is one of those elements where it's both rhythmic and melodic. And yeah, for the notes here, you can see these is all just playing F minor chords, and then we have a few extra voices on top. So like here we have an F minor 9. We have a regular F minor, an F minor 7, and you can see for all these extra chords, it's the same notes as the F minor, just adding, in the case of a minor 9 chord, you add a minor 7th, and then a 9th, or like in the 7th chord, you add the minor 7th, and then just kind of playing around with different rhythmic sort of little combinations of that. You can also see I've made some of the velocities a little bit quieter here, so this just goes to like really making this a dynamic sound. You know, you want this to feel like something that was played in, and the way that you get that is just simply by really working with the velocities and the note lengths, and you can see like every note is a different length in here, and that's really what you want to go for with these types of chord patterns. The other thing I'll talk about is like the minor 9 chords and minor 7 chords. You know, when you have a regular minor chord, that's cool, but you can see when you have a minor 9 chord, what's happening is you get kind of like a more complex emotion from this, because you have a minor chord here, and then you have a whole major chord, or you have another minor chord on top of it, but then you're creating a major chord in between, and then that there as well. So it's like, you know, it gives it more depth. Like, think of it like, you know, if you're writing a story, like, you would write a character who has like some good tendencies and some bad tendencies. You know, you're never just gonna have somebody who's 100% perfect or 100% evil all the time. That's never gonna be good. Same deal here. It's kind of like, you know, adding more depth to the feeling that the chord creates, rather than just going for like, oh, let's just use a minor chord here. For the sound, this one's made using analog. You can see we actually have 2 sine waves here. The second one is 2 octaves up, and then those are just going into a low pass filter, which is set like this. You can see I've got a key track, so like when you play a low note, the filter's more closed. When you play a high note, the filter's a little bit more open. We got the amp envelope set like this. I've got a bit of vibrato, and then after that we have this 2 reverbs here. So the first one is on at all times. That's that reverb that you hear if I turn it off. There we go. And then the second one is being automated. So what's happening here is this is doing these like reverb sweep things. Like that at the end of every 2 bars. So all we're doing is we're just automating the dry wet to go up. It's a really simple effect, but it's a cool way to kind of create something interesting. And I've noticed this in a bit of ANOTR's music as well. This is used in a lot of different styles of house music. But you can just kind of create some nice movement and really makes this a dynamic sound going into the next part. After that, we have a bit of saturation, just fattening it up a bit, brings out the reverb a little as well. And then finally, we just have a high pass filter. And that is it for the organ stab. After that, we have the kick, which sounds like this. You know, pretty standard stuff. You just want this like big fat kick sample here. I've got that going into a bit of saturation. And we have the bass, which sounds like this. Here are the notes. So like I said, we're in F minor. That was the chords that you saw above. We're all playing with F minor. And yeah, this is just a simple bass line in F minor. You know, we just have like F, the root note, G sharp, the minor 3rd, A sharp, which is just 5 notes out from the root note. And then we have this D sharp up here. This is the minor 7th, which to find the minor 7th, all you have to do is it's just 2 notes down, or 2 semitones down from the root note, and then an octave up. So yeah, pretty simple. This one's just more about the rhythm. Yeah, we're getting a lot of movement because this bass is like. And it adds a lot to the track. If I turn this off, it doesn't have that same movement. So yeah, that's what you want to go for with these kinds of bass lines. For the sound with this one, it's a really simple sound. It's just 2 sine waves inside of operator here, doing a little bit of FM. Here's without the second one. And then with it. So you can hear that second one is just adding a little bit more fatness to the sound, kind of bringing it out a little bit more. And then we just have a bit of saturation on that. Here's without it. And then with it. So again, just kind of fills in the spaces, makes it a bit fatter. Then we have a compressor, side chaining it to the kick a little bit. And then finally I just have this EQ8, which is cutting at 100 Hertz and then boosting the low end. So just kind of making a little bit of room for that kick to punch through. And then bringing out the low end a bit more. And yeah, that is it for the bass. And then we have those two in a group together, which is a little bit of saturation just to kind of glue them together. Here's without it. And then with it, so you can hear, just kind of brings both things out a little bit more. This is that last little bit of the thing that I think you need to really make this sound professional and full like this. After that, we have the percussions, which are all in this big group. So I'll just kind of go through like the different layers so you can hear what's going on. So the first thing that's happening here is the main hi-hat, which sounds like this. So there's just 2 layers. We have this one, more of like the punch. And then this one, which is adding that high end that you're hearing. Yeah, just got those playing together. The main thing to keep in mind with these is just like the layering. Like, you don't want to just have the high end one because it's going to be too thin, but you also don't want to have just the mid-range one because then it's going to be too short. But putting them together, you get the best of both. And also, just choosing like shorter samples. You wouldn't want like a super long like open hi-hat that's just going to take up too much space. You want something a little bit shorter and tighter. That's just like a quick on top of the mix like this. After that, we have the shakers, which sound like this. So these 2 shakers are just kind of playing throughout the whole thing. We have one that's like, and then this one, which just adds in a few little extra percussive notes. And yeah, this is kind of like that thing that you may not always notice is in the background, but it's adding a lot to the track. Here is without these in the mix. And then with them. So you can hear how much energy we get from adding these shakers in. And again, it's like, this is the kind of stuff that might be a little bit more subtle, but it's just as important as the stuff that's right up front. After that, speaking of subtle percussion, we have this drum rack, which sounds like this. There's what it sounds like in the mix. So this is another one of those things. Basically what's happening is I'll play it with the hi-hats and the claps so you can hear what it's doing in the mix. So this is like that sort of like more quick and tight percussion loop that you hear underneath everything. So the way this is made is just by taking 4 different percussion samples. And then I put them into this drum rack here, and I've got them shortened a bunch as well using the amplitude envelope. And yeah, that's just like in there. Giving you some of that quick, skippy percussion in the background. If I turn this off, there's a lot less energy. So again, just like the shakers, this is that little background element that you really need in this style that like if you don't have this stuff, it's not going to work as well. But it may not be the most like right up front in your face thing at all times. After that, we have this clap, which sounds like this. So not really a whole lot to say here, pretty standard clap on the 2 and 4. The main thing I'll say is just choosing like a really fat sound like this. Like this is a really strong clap. And you can hear how it like really cracks through that mix. and stands on top of everything. And yeah, and then the last layer that we have in here is this drum rack with some bongos, which sounds like this. So it's just these little bongo samples. It just adds that extra little bit of percussion. This is actually a thing that you can hear more, I think. But it's honestly like more subtle in the mix. If I turn it off, you know, just like, it's just that last layer that you need to really tie the whole thing home. And yeah, then I have all the percussions in a group together, just a little bit of drum bass, you know, simple stuff, but just kind of ties it all together. Make sure that it's all hitting right and kind of evenly in the mix. Here's without this. And then with it. So it's just making everything have that punch, and it's also gluing everything together. It's like with the saturator on the low end, you know, when you put it all through the saturation like this, it's gluing it all together and getting the volumes more even to where everything's just going to kind of feel like it fits into the same space rather than having like all these different percussions from all over being pulled in. And yeah, so that is me for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets. All of that stuff from this video is available right at the top of the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.